Okay guys, this is my 500 miles review of the Lexmoto Assault 2019 version. And yeah, so I just thought I'd do a follow-up video since about 125 odd people looked at the first one, just in case anyone's wondering how it's gone since then. Basically, I've not had any problems with the bike in terms of it breaking down, but I would say the bike's biggest weak point is well, I wouldn't say weak point, but the biggest con in the pros and cons will be definitely the gearbox. It just feels clunky at times, but the thing is, I've worked out you can get used to it. It's just a case of learning how it operates. So basically, if you stop at the lights and you're in, say, second gear, and you've come to a full stop, and you know, oh, I'm going to be here for like a minute, I just missed that light. Basically, sometimes it's hard to change down into into neutral, or it will just jump you into first. But then when you're in first, it can be hard to get into neutral from that. So it just feels kind of like it locked up or something sometimes. But this is because I've worked out the gearbox that they're using is one where it changes gear best as it's rolling. So as I'm driving, as I'm coming up to the lights, I've actually made it a habit now to just before I fully have stopped, to go into neutral. So I might be rolling for like the last couple meters, and I'm just like, all right, neutral. And since if you ride like that, then you're not going to have a single problem with this bike. There's this one small niggle which I have. Sometimes when you're riding, it rattles a little bit just here, but I think it's just a case of that bolt down there just needs tightening up a little bit, because I think that's what the rattle's from. But that's not a big deal. I mean, like, I could just put a little spacer in there or something, a little bit of like a little rubber spacer type thing, and it should be fine. That'll completely stop the rattling. So this is the thing with the Chinese bikes. It's like sometimes you might come, if you're lucky. I feel lucky because this bike here is definitely more solid than the Venom that I used to own, and it's not got some kind of fueling issue like the Adrenaline which I used to own. It feels quite solid, and I keep getting good sort of feedback on how it looks from people that I work with and people that I see whilst I'm riding. They're like, oh, that's a nice bike. And I'm like, yeah, it's a nice bike. Well, I think it is. It looks, when you first set eyes on this thing, my opinion of it was I didn't like it at all. But then when you see it in the flesh, and then you actually ride it, it's just one of those things that grows on you. I thought I would throw in a bit more information on other things this time, such as like how many miles per gallon I think I'm getting, how many, have I had to put any oil in it, how's the chain looking, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm using Muck Off on the chain. I'm using the all-weathers one, the purple one. It smells kind of nice, and the chain feels good. Bearing in mind it's cold, I keep the bike outside. The chain feels absolutely fine. No problems there whatsoever. Seems to be wearing down a good rate, as in like it looks like it's going to be around for a while, that chain. But I think once a year I'm just going to change the chain anyway, just as like I don't know, just to be on the safe side, and the sprockets as well. With my last two Chinese bikes, I didn't have any issues with the sprockets and chain whatsoever, although I did change some sprockets to go faster on the, I think it was the Adrenaline I did that. Might have been the Venom, I don't know. Actually, I think it was the Venom. But yeah, the Venom could pull way faster, and it would actually go faster, like overall, which it was not supposed to do that if you drop a tooth on the front. So it spins faster on the front basically. But yeah, I think that's what I did. I don't know. Was it drop a tooth? I can't remember. I just know that what was supposed to happen happened differently. So I've got no idea what this orange stuff here is. I think that's probably rust. These exhausts ain't that great. I think I'm gonna look at changing this one personally. I'm not sure what that is. I think that's, what's that, the catalytic converter or something? I don't know. Probably. But it does make the bike feel kind of like it's choking a little bit, but ultimately it's not a big deal. I mean, like, it's not putting me in danger. Doesn't mean I'm setting off slow. I mean, this bike, you can set off from the lights very quickly, and it's completely fine. It will keep up with other 125s and all that kind of jazz. I've done 2 top speed sort of runs on this bike now. I'm weighing 14 stone roughly, 5'7", 8", and basically the top speed which I managed to get was about 62, 63. So it's not the fastest 125. My adrenaline could do 70, but only in certain conditions, like with the wind behind me, all this kind of stuff. And I think what was the other one? The Venom could do about 67, 68 roughly. So this one's only a few miles an hour short of that, and to be honest, I thought I would be making a big fuss about it, like, oh, I hate that that's slower or whatever, you know, all these kind of things you think about when you're buying a bike. Oh, but it can't do 70. But then the thing is, I've not really noticed the difference. I mean, I'm not riding with other people that often. It's not like I'm going to be like trying to keep up with like somebody who's doing 70, or yeah, I'm just doing my own thing. I'm out in the countryside, taking in the nice views. I've got some more little bits and bobs which I wanted to tell you guys. So one of them is how much oil have I had to put in. So it's nothing. I've not had to put no oil whatsoever. It doesn't excessively burn oil. It's not one of those types of bikes. It's not, you know, causing problems or anything. Let me see, what else is there? Oh yeah, I'll do a little tiny review now as well on these tires. What do I think of these tires? At first, I was really worried about them, because it looks like it's just going to drop off if you lean too much. But realistically, I've not slipped on the front tires at all. So like going around corners and stuff like that, I've never had like a moment where I'm like, oh, you know, like where it slips out. Which is quite surprising, because they don't look like the grippiest of tires, and they are nylon as well. So obviously everybody's like, nylon slips on, you know, wet surfaces a lot easier, but these ones feel good. I'm not just making that up either, and I do like that I'm happy with them. And the best thing I like about them is I can kind of take them off road and go down some trails, green lanes and stuff. And it feels just maybe a little bit easier than on a road tire. The back tire though is not as good off-road. So it will spin out, burn out, all that kind of stuff as you're riding sometimes. Oh, not as you're riding, but if you come to a stop and then you need to set off, you can get sort of spun out in there. But you could change that tire if you wanted. I think there's a Metzeler one, which is off-road. The suspension, I tried to make them soften it as much as they could. So I think that consists of adjusting these dials here. Just turn them around, make it softer. The suspension I still would like softer than it is. I'm not sure if it's got any more softness I can get out of it, but yeah, it is what it is. That's probably the second weakest point on the bike, is the suspension. And people who do bike racing and all this kind of stuff, if that's what you're into, they'll tell you good suspension, it makes a difference, especially when you're doing like lap times and all kinds of stuff. And the different suspension is going to help you on different surfaces, different types of stuff. So like you probably want really soft suspension going off-road, so it absorbs all of the bumps, and probably a harder one when you're on the road, so you can cut corners nice and clean, easy. I think it goes something along those lines, but don't quote me. Let me think. Is there anything else I like or dislike about the bike? It's not had any issues firing up. So even today, cold weather, it's got electric fuel injection. You just hit the button once, it shoots up, fires up. It's easy, it's convenient. This is the mileage I'm up to now. 565, and that is miles. I think that the braking period finishes when you get to 1,000 kilometers. No, on 909, so I should be near the end of the braking period. But anyway, just so you guys can see that this actually fires up. See, it's really no issues with that whatsoever. That's what I like about it. It's just nice, easy. All of the fears that you have about Chinese bikes, try getting a Lexmoto and just seeing how you do. Because yeah, it's going to have one or two issues probably, but you can fix that. You can fix that. Does it sound bad? I don't know if that sounds good or bad on the on the phone. I'm just recording on my Google Plus phone, whatever it's called, Google whatever. I'm going to be changing the phone actually because I can only do full HD instead of 4K. But that's another day's problem. I did think of something else, which was the miles per gallon. What miles per gallon do I think I'm getting on this bike? So I think if you go online and you look on the Lexmoto official website, this bike I think is down as doing 118 miles per gallon, something like along those lines. And I've worked out in city traffic, you're not looking at that. You're looking at maybe 80 miles per gallon, 75, 80, something like around those lines. And but if you do, I did a 130 mile round trip journey on this the other day, going through the High Wolds, which is sort of south of London. I went from the west to the east side of the High Wolds, and to be honest, on the 130 mile journey, apart from it being cold, I had a great day. Like, the bike handled well, it did well, and on that specific day where I'm not start stop sort of traffic, it did definitely hit the 118 mile per gallon quoted mark. So I think it depends what kind of riding you're doing. If you're in town, if you're out of town, whatever you're gonna do, this bike, it can do 118 miles per gallon if you're doing sort of a certain type of riding. There's a giant bird up there. Wow. This is what I love about coming out down here. What is it, a hawk or something? I don't know. It's gigantic. But yeah, let's try not to get too distracted by the bird. He's a big one though. He is, for sure. But yeah, on the 130 mile round trip, so I went from London to the High Wolds and round there, and then I came back. It took me quite a while because I stopped off various places, because it was my first time really exploring that area. So, but on the journey, the bike, it never let me down, and I did the entire 130 mile trip. So I started the journey as well on full tank, and I reset the trip so I could see how far I'm going, how much I'm going to get on that day, like petrol wise, and I could see obviously how much I'm using. So by the end of the whole journey, I'd gone from a full tank just to a half tank on the fuel gauge. So, and that's 130 miles, so maybe I squeezed in an extra couple by riding economically, I don't know. But either way, that's close enough to the quoted mark for me to approve of that mark of the miles per gallon. And I think I'm just running a copper spark plug in here as well. I don't think changing the spark plugs can do a big deal, like difference on this bike. But I do generally prefer the Iridium ones. Not because of any kind of like I'm going to go faster or anything, but I just think it ticks over nicer, just revs nicer. I don't know, it's just my belief. It just feels different. I know it's just a spark that it's creating and the spark's going to be the same, but it just feels more consistent. Whereas there's nothing wrong with this spark plug in there now, the copper one, but I don't know, I just prefer just how it feels. It's just a slight bit difference. I think if you ride the same bike all the time and then you change the plug to a different kind of plug, you're going to notice the difference, because it's your bike, so you're going to notice whether you think it's done a performance enhancement or whether it's changed how the bike performs. I think when winter time's been and gone and all of the rust risk time of the year's been and gone, that's when I'll change this, get rid of this exhaust. There's nothing wrong with the exhaust, sounds fine. I've not drilled any holes in it or anything crazy like some people would do. But this is the same exhaust, I think, that I took off one of my other bikes. I think this is the same as the Venom. And when I did take the exhaust off of that and I swapped it with the Lextech stainless steel one, I could really feel the difference, because I had them both. I had one Lextech in my left hand and I had this in my right hand, and this was marginally heavier. So yeah, it's always going to be good to save a bit of weight. It's going to help the fuel economy, all that kind of stuff, and it's going to maybe sound a little bit better. Might sound a bit more yobbish. Also, when it's come to cleaning the bikes, well, this bike, I find it quite an easy job. If you've got like a supermarket with a jet wash or whatever, £2, just spray it, it's clean, it's done. It looks a bit dirty now, but I've just been out riding in it. Been riding in some horrible weather the last few days, so. But yeah, I've not found any issues cleaning it. I don't think my bike personally came with a toolkit. Although to get in under the seat, you can go there. Then you just pull this up, and I think you take the sides off as well if you want. But when I first did that, I didn't see any toolkit in there, so my bike didn't come with a toolkit. But I did get a manual, and then if you look on the manual, it does say it will come with a toolkit. There's some people here just. But yeah, it does say you get a toolkit with the bike. It should be under the seat, connected to the seat. But yeah, there's nothing else I've got to say about it for now. The 500 mile review, I had one service. It's like it cost me £46, so really inexpensive. And I think the next service, which is a more major service, 106. And if I remember correctly, when I've had the Yamahas that I used to own, the scooter, the motorbike, and all that kind of stuff, that cost a lot more. So saving money, having the same fun basically. But anyway guys, I will try and do a video next time when I'm at 1,000 miles, and tell you how it goes from there. Check out the views. Look at the smoke on the hills down there. You can see there's like a layer, and then there's the hill behind it. It's crazy. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.